Banks could be setting up a common negative registry of fraudsters. Now, to arrest the growing menace of bank frauds, banks could make information accessible in real time to all their banking peers to prevent digital frauds and provide faster resolution of such issues through a common portal. News reports suggest that banks are initiating, in fact have initiated discussions with the Reserve Bank of India on the proposed portal. The portal will help lenders connect with each other seamlessly on such fraud cases and find a way to stop money being transferred, the fraud money being transferred to multiple bank accounts, maybe within days and hours of fraudsters kicking into action. To talk about the portal, what it can do, joining us is Kanishk Gaur, who's the CEO at India Future Foundation and also former MD of Protivity. But before that, let's quickly understand, Krishna, the menace of fraudsters and digital frauds and banking frauds. I think all of us, I'm not sure about you, but most people I've spoken to, including myself, we've been a victim. And we've been a victim mainly because on the back of how increasingly inventive these frauds have become, right? It's no more about don't click on that link, don't attend to that call, don't click on that UPI, don't scan that UPI. It's also when people call you and say, hey, I know your dad and he was supposed to pay me back, so kindly pay me back, or we will pay you back, we gave to him. I mean, it's become so inventive. It's become a big menace for banks, for regulator. How do you really work around such inventive frauds?
Absolutely. What you're talking about also talks in terms of numbers, because for financial year 2023, there were more than 13,500 digital fraud cases that were detected by the Reserve Bank of India. This is all to do with digital payments. Half of them were in the cards category. So there has been a clear rise in the percentage of cases. Imagine if more than 13,500 cases were detected by the Reserve Bank of India. How about the thousands of cases that went not even detected? So it
Not
has reached that critical mass.
Absolutely.
Where clearly both the banking system and the banking regulator have taken clear note of it. Everything from from spam calls to now digital frauds. Seeing portals being set up. This time around, it's the banks which are going to set up this portal. It's going to be absolutely crucial and necessary. And also, I really think this is just the first step. Okay. And the point you're making about how inventive digital frauds are getting, this is a constantly moving target that we're looking at. There'll be newer and newer ways. The portal is a great first step, but what I would want is a greater, deeper research into all the possible kinds of digital frauds that are possible in our current ecosystem of digital transactions and find ways to plug those leaks.
All right, we've got to find ways to plug those leaks and lenders coming together. Let's get in Kanishk into this conversation. Kanishk, thanks very much for joining us here on Newsline. I want to quickly get you into this conversation. And to begin with, I think the latest update, of course, is that lenders are now coming together and saying, hey, enough is enough. Let's figure out if there's a common portal that we can devise where we can share data with one another and stop this from happening repeatedly by same people. How helpful is this portal going to be, and what could be the bandwidth of such a portal?
See, this is a great start because the fraudsters not just attack one client, they attack multiple clients, and there are multiple banks which are becoming victim of such frauds, and the money then moves from these bank accounts to other bank accounts. Normally, you've seen that places like Jamtara, Mewat, and these organized crime operators have been working, and they have been crime up to 150 crore plus, where they have been able to dupe people through social engineering, calling them and telling them that they are calling from their bank, and people end up transferring money, sharing OTPs. So this common network will allow this information to be collated between banks and these bank accounts to be freezed. The first thing when you go to a police station to report a cybercrime is the police will help freeze the bank account. Now, how many bank accounts can you freeze and when do they become active? That's one of the key things. The biggest issue here is the modus operandi keeps on changing. Every time a new scamster will invent a new trick, it is not going to be the same, share the OTP. It is going to be phishing links. It is going to be, using somebody else's biometric. Today, the biggest issue is the lack of awareness of people to share their personal information with a third party. So the effective way first is to verify numbers from which these calls are coming. Right now, Department of Telecom is trying to set up a mechanism where people don't need a third-party app, but if somebody is calling you, you get a verification saying this number is a registered number or a verified number. So for spamming, the number of calls which are coming, it's very important to identify where is this number originating from. The other thing is that these databases have to be constantly updated. You just can't say, okay, we have created a database. You have to update in terms of new tricks, because today it's just not telephone. You can use simple apps and create VPN numbers. So using cloud-based telephony apps, you can create tremendous amount of numbers, and these numbers don't even originate in India. They could be from anywhere across the globe. So how do you stop that? Those are some of the bigger challenges we will face, because cloud-based telephony, VPN-based numbers, very difficult. You block one, people will get 10 more numbers. You will see that
Absolutely.
today people are receiving lots of messages on WhatsApp, and these are numbers don't end up being from India. They end up being from some other countries, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, US numbers. So how do you stop this menace? The biggest aspect is government stops or creates regulations for some of these telephone VPN service providers to regulate to whom these numbers are being given. So you don't need a SIM today to start a WhatsApp or a Telegram, channel. You could just subscribe to some of these websites which are selling it at a dirt cheap cost. So those are
Okay.
the bigger concerns which need to be there.
All right, and those concerns, of course, we continue to discuss here on News9. We are running a campaign for our viewers. It's called Spam Free India, where we are hoping more and more people are able to report on these spam numbers, and the government does something about it, Krishna. Yes. I mean, it's a menace that we've all tackled. Calls coming in at random hours from random numbers, and more significantly, as Kanishk pointed out, now from international numbers that you may fall prey to, and you never know whether these numbers are to be believed, not to be believed, and it becomes so very difficult for an average common person out there to be able to distinguish as to what to believe, what not to believe. Kanishk, unfortunately, we've run short of time, but thanks very much for your inputs on that very crucial story. As I said, we're running a campaign here, and we're hoping you can be a part of that campaign, and you can join us very frequently to talk about the menace of spam calls, and hopefully we'll together put an end to it. I know we are very limited in power. There's very limited that we can do as media, but at least what we can do is knock on government's door to put in more preventive and administrative actions out there to prevent spam call menace from becoming bigger with each passing day. Thanks very much for taking time out.